The rain came down in sheets, turning the cracked asphalt into a river of oil and regret. My car had finally given up, sputtered, coughed, and died right in the middle of Warehouse District at 11 p.m. on a Friday. Because of course it did. I stood there in the downpour, my scrubs soaked through, my sneakers squelching with every step as I tried to push 2 tons of rust and broken dreams toward the curb. My arms burned. My back screamed. And all I could think was that I didn't have money for a tow truck, let alone whatever fresh disaster was hiding under that hood. "Come on," I muttered, shoving against the driver's door. Just a little further. The car didn't care about my desperation. It sat there, stubborn and dead, blocking the right lane like a middle finger to my entire existence. That's when I saw the lights. Not normal headlights. These were different. Bright, expensive, cutting through the rain like knives. 3 black SUVs appeared from nowhere, their engines purring with the kind of money I'd never touch in my lifetime. They slowed, then stopped, forming a barrier that blocked traffic in both directions. My stomach dropped. This neighborhood didn't see convoys of luxury vehicles. It saw drug deals and broken promises, and people who knew better than to make eye contact after dark. The rear door of the middle SUV opened, and a man stepped out. Even through the rain, even in the dim streetlight, I could see he didn't belong here. Expensive suit, dark and perfectly tailored, shoes that probably cost more than my monthly rent, and a face that looked like it had been carved from marble, all sharp angles and cold beauty and danger. He walked toward me like he owned the street. Hell, maybe he did. "You need help?" It wasn't a question. "I'm fine." I shoved my wet hair out of my face, trying to look less pathetic than I felt. Just waiting for a tow. His dark eyes swept over me, my soaked scrubs, my broken car, the way I was shaking from cold and exhaustion and fear I didn't want to name. "You're not fine." He pulled out a phone, expensive, sleek, probably worth more than my car ever was. "My men will handle it. I don't need your charity." The words came out sharper than I intended, fueled by embarrassment and pride I couldn't afford. "I don't even know you." Something flickered across his face. Amusement, maybe, or interest. "Dante Russo." He said it like I should recognize the name. I didn't. "And you are?" "Nobody." I crossed my arms, trying to stop shivering. "I'm nobody. So just go back to wherever you came from and leave me alone." "Nobody." He repeated it slowly, tasting the word. A smile curved his lips, but it wasn't kind. It was predatory, satisfied, interesting. Before I could respond, 2 men emerged from the other SUVs. They moved with military precision, surrounding my car, popping the hood like they'd done this 1,000 times. "I said I don't need—" "I heard what you said." Dante stepped closer, close enough that I caught his scent. Something expensive and masculine that made my traitorous body forget I should be terrified. "But nobody is going to accept my help anyway." "Why?" I demanded. "Why do you even care?" His eyes locked onto mine, and I felt it like a physical touch. Hot, possessive, dangerous. "Because," he said quietly, "nobody has ever looked at me the way you just did. Like I'm an inconvenience. Like I'm ordinary." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a black business card, pressing it into my palm. "Keep this. You'll need it soon." "I won't." "You will." 10 minutes later, my car was running. His men had fixed whatever had broken with efficiency that suggested they could fix anything or break anything with equal ease. Dante held my door open, rain sliding off his shoulders like he was immune to weather itself. "Go home, nobody," he said. "Stay safe." I drove away, hands shaking on the wheel, his business card burning against my palm. When I finally climbed the 3 flights to my apartment, I found an envelope tucked against my door. Inside, $50 bills and a note in elegant handwriting. "For emergencies, You'll need my help soon. D. I should have thrown it away. Instead, I stood there in my dark apartment, holding $5,000 and a business card, and wondered what the hell I'd just walked into. 3 days later, I was still carrying Dante Russo's money in my purse like a live grenade. I hadn't touched it, hadn't spent a single bill, but I couldn't throw it away either, which probably said something terrible about my survival instincts. The hospital cafeteria smelled like industrial disinfectant and reheated pasta. I'd worked a double, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and my feet felt like they'd been beaten with hammers. My section was finally clean, the last tray returned, the registers counted. I just wanted to go home. Maya Chen? The voice came from behind me, rough and familiar in the worst way. I turned slowly, my stomach already sinking. Vince Calabresi stood in the employee hallway, too close to the exit for me to run. He was built like a bulldog, all shoulders and aggression, with dead eyes that had seen too much and felt too little. Vince. I kept my voice steady. I'm at work. You can't be here. Your daddy owed me money. He stepped closer, and I smelled cigarettes and violence. 15,000. With interest, it's 20 now. My father's been dead for 2 years. Debt don't die, sweetheart. His smile showed too many teeth. It transfers, and you're all the family he had left, except for that little brother of yours. Noah, right? Pre-med at State? Ice flooded my veins. Leave Noah out of this. Then pay up. He pulled out his phone, showing me a photo. Noah leaving his apartment, backpack over his shoulder, completely unaware he was being watched. You got 1 week, Maya. 20 grand or I start collecting other ways. He left before I could respond, disappearing into the parking lot like the nightmare he was. I made it to my car before I started shaking. $20,000. I had maybe $800 in my account. Noah's tuition was barely covered by loans I'd co-signed. We were drowning already, and now this. My purse sat on the passenger seat, heavy with Dante's envelope. For emergencies. This qualified as an emergency. But accepting money from a man like Dante Russo, because I wasn't stupid, I'd Googled him the night he'd helped me, meant walking into a different kind of debt, the kind that didn't come with payment plans. My phone was in my hand before I'd consciously decided. The business card had a single number, no name. I dialed. He answered on the first ring. I was wondering when you'd call. His voice sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with fear, and everything to do with the way he'd looked at me in the rain. I need help. The words stuck in my throat. I know. Vince Calabresi, your father's debt, 20,000 with his creative interest rates. He said it casually, like he already knew everything. Have dinner with me tonight. We'll discuss solutions. How did you... Because I make it my business to know everything about people who interest me. And you, nobody, interest me very much. A pause. Rossetti's at 8. I'll send a car. I can drive myself. The car will be there at 7:30. He hung up before I could argue. Rossetti's was the kind of restaurant I'd only seen in movies. All dark wood and candlelight, and prices that weren't listed on the menu, because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. Dante sat in a private corner booth, and somehow he looked even more dangerous in the dim lighting. He stood when I arrived, his dark eyes tracking my cheap dress, my nervous hands, the way I didn't belong here. You came. Did I have a choice? His smile was slight. There's always a choice, Maya. You're here because you want to be. We ordered. Or rather, he ordered for both of us in fluid Italian that made the waiter practically bow. I watched him, trying to understand what he wanted from me. That's when I saw Vince. He was across the dining room, thick neck and cheap suit, meeting with 2 other men. He hadn't seen me yet, was laughing at something, completely at ease. Dante followed my gaze. Something cold crossed his face. He pulled out his phone, one of two he carried, I noticed, and made a brief call. Spoke quietly in Italian. Never took his eyes off Vince. Across the room, Vince's phone rang. He answered, and I watched the color drain from his face. He stood abruptly, knocking over his wine glass, said something rapid to his companions, then walked out of the restaurant like the devil himself was chasing him. Dante ended the call and pocketed his phone. "Your debt," he said calmly, "no longer exists." "What did you do?" My voice barely worked. Dante leaned back, swirling wine in his glass like we were discussing the weather instead of whatever had just terrorized Vince Calabrese into fleeing a restaurant. "I eliminated your problem." "How?" "I bought your father's debt from Vince. Actually, I bought all of Vince's outstanding collections. He's retiring from the loan business as of tonight." He set down his glass. "Permanently." The way he said permanently made my stomach twist. "So now I owe you instead." "No." He leaned forward, his dark eyes intense. "Now you're under my protection. There's a difference." "There's always a price, Dante. What do you want from me?" The question hung between us, heavy with implications we both understood. He studied me for a long moment, and I saw something shift in his expression. A decision being made. "The truth first," he said. "You know who I am. What I am." "I Googled you." My hands twisted in my lap. Dante Russo, head of the Russo crime family. Racketeering, extortion, suspected connections to half the corruption in the city. The FBI has a file on you thick enough to stop bullets. And yet you came to dinner. I'm desperate. Desperate people make stupid choices. His smile was dark. "I don't think you're stupid, Maya. Scared, maybe, but not stupid." He signaled the waiter, who brought the check, which Dante paid with cash, too many hundreds to count. "Walk with me." I should have refused, should have run. Instead, I followed him out into the cool night air, where his black SUV waited with Marcus at the wheel. "I want you," Dante said simply, turning to face me on the sidewalk. "Not as payment for a debt you don't owe. Not as some temporary arrangement. I want you in my life, in my home, in my bed. I want to wake up to you, come home to you, know that you're safe and cared for. You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you work yourself to exhaustion to help your brother through medical school. I know you drive a car held together by prayer because you give everything to other people. I know you looked at me in the rain like I was an inconvenience, not a king." He stepped closer, and I felt the heat of him, the barely controlled intensity. "I know that I haven't been able to think about anything else since that night. This is insane. Probably." He didn't deny it. "But here's my offer. Move into my penthouse. Let me take care of you and Noah, his tuition, his apartment, everything. Give me 6 months. If you hate it, if you can't stand my world or who I am, you walk away, debt-free, with enough money to start fresh wherever you want. And if I refuse, then I still clear your debt, still make sure Vince never bothers you again. You go back to your life." His jaw tightened. "But I'll regret it every day for the rest of mine." I laughed, but it came out bitter. "Why me, Dante? You could have anyone. I'm nobody. A cafeteria worker who can barely pay rent. What could you possibly want with someone like me?" Something fierce flashed in his dark eyes. He closed the distance between us, his hands framing my face with surprising gentleness. "You keep saying that," he murmured, his thumb brushing my cheekbone. "Nobody. Like it's a fact. Like it defines you. It does." "No." His grip tightened slightly, possessive. "You're mine now, Maya, and that makes you everything. My priority. My protection. My obsession." He leaned closer, his breath warm against my lips. Let me spend the next 6 months proving your worth to you. Let me show you what it means to be everything to someone. Dante. He kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was claiming, fierce, desperate, a promise and a threat wrapped in heat and hunger. His hands tangled in my hair, pulling me closer, and I forgot every reason this was dangerous. Forgot that he was a criminal, that I was drowning, that this was a terrible idea. I kissed him back like he was air, and I'd been suffocating. When he finally pulled away, we were both breathing hard. Say yes, he whispered against my mouth. I should have said no, should have protected myself. Yes. His smile was triumphant, possessive, devastating. Mine, he murmured. Finally mine. Moving into Dante's penthouse took exactly 20 minutes because I owned almost nothing worth keeping. One suitcase of clothes, a box of photos from when Mom was alive, my nursing textbooks from the semester I'd had to drop out. That was it, the sum total of Maya Chen's existence, fitting easily into the trunk of Marcus's SUV. The penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a building where doormen wore better suits than I did. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the city sprawling below like Dante owned every light, every street, every soul down there. Maybe he did. Your room is down the hall, Marcus said, carrying my pathetic suitcase like it weighed nothing. He was built like a tank, with iron-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. Mr. Russo wanted you to have your own space. For now. For now. The implication hung in the air between us. The room was bigger than my entire apartment had been. King-sized bed with sheets that probably cost more than my car. Walk-in closet already filled with clothes I hadn't bought. Designer labels, my exact size, private bathroom with marble counters and a shower big enough for 4 people. He had stylists send options, Marcus explained, watching me stare at the closet. Said you'd need a new wardrobe. I didn't agree to be dressed like a doll. You agreed to be his. The wardrobe comes with the territory. Marcus's expression didn't change. Dinner's at 7. Mr. Russo will be home by 6. He left before I could respond. I spent the afternoon exploring my cage. The penthouse was all clean lines and expensive taste, original artwork, leather furniture, a kitchen with appliances I didn't know how to use. But it was the security that made my skin crawl. Cameras in every corner, armed men in the lobby, bulletproof windows, panic rooms I discovered by accident. This wasn't a home. It was a fortress, and I was either being protected or imprisoned, maybe both. Dante came home exactly at 6, loosening his tie as he walked through the door. He looked tired, dangerous, and somehow even more attractive than I remembered. How was your first day? He found me in the kitchen, attempting to figure out the espresso machine. Overwhelming. I gave up on the machine. Your staff keeps looking at me like I'm going to steal the silverware. They're adjusting. You're the first woman I've brought here. He moved behind me, his hands settling on my waist with casual possession. Let me. He made coffee with efficient ease, his body warm against my back, and I hated how right it felt. I need to go to work tomorrow, I said. My shift starts at 7. His hands tightened slightly. You don't need to work anymore. I want to. I need normal, Dante. I need something that's mine. Everything here is yours. No. I turned to face him. Everything here is yours. I'm just borrowing it. Something flickered in his dark eyes. Understanding, maybe, or respect. Fine. But Marcus goes with you. I don't need a babysitter. Non-negotiable. His voice went hard. You're under my protection now, Maya. That means security. Always. We argued through dinner. Thai food he'd ordered from somewhere expensive. He cooked too, I discovered, making me breakfast the next morning before his phone started ringing with whatever crisis ran criminal empires. I was ready for my shift at 6:30, wearing my scrubs, determined to maintain some piece of my old life. Marcus blocked the door. "Mr. Russo's orders," he said calmly. "You don't leave without security. Move." "Can't do that, Miss Chen." Fury flooded through me. I pulled out my phone and called Dante, not caring that it was barely 7 a.m. He answered immediately. "Maya, your guard dog won't let me leave. Because it's not safe. I'm going to work, Dante. I'm not a possession you can lock in a tower." Silence. Then his voice came back, cold and absolute. "You are mine, Maya. That means I protect you. Non-negotiable. Marcus drives you, stays nearby, brings you home. Those are the terms. I didn't agree to be a prisoner. You agreed to be mine. This is what that means." Something softer entered his tone. "Please, Kara, let me keep you safe." I wanted to scream, to fight, to run. Instead, I let Marcus drive me to work. That night, I couldn't sleep. The penthouse was too quiet, too big, too empty without Dante, who'd texted that he'd be late, business to handle. I wandered toward his office, drawn by voices. He was on the phone, speaking rapid Italian. I caught my name, Maya, followed by words I didn't understand but felt in my bones. Then, in English. "She doesn't know how many people would kill to get to me through her." I confronted him the next morning over coffee he'd made without asking how I took it, because he already knew, had already learned me in the weeks since that rainy night. "How many?" I demanded. "How many people want to hurt me to get to you?" Dante set down his cup with careful precision. "Enough that I don't sleep when you're out of my sight." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." He stood, moving to the window that overlooked his kingdom. "I have enemies, Maya. Rival families, federal agents, people who'd burn this city down just to watch me lose something." "Then let me go. Send me away where I'm safe." He turned, and the look on his face stole my breath, raw, desperate, almost broken. "I can't." His voice cracked on the words. "I've tried. God, I've tried to convince myself to let you walk away. But I'm too selfish, too obsessed, too far gone. Show me." I crossed the room to him. "Stop protecting me from the truth. Show me your world, Dante. All of it. If I'm going to be yours, I need to understand what that means." Something shifted in his expression. Decision made. "All right, get dressed. We're going to meet my family." The Russo family home was a sprawling estate in the suburbs, all old-world elegance and guarded gates. Dante held my hand as we walked inside, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. Nervous, I realized. He was nervous. "Nonna," he called out in Italian. "Ho portato qualcuno." An elderly woman emerged from the kitchen, wiping flour from her hands. She was small, elegant, with Dante's dark eyes and a warmth that immediately made me understand where his capacity for love came from. "Dante, mio caro." She kissed both his cheeks, then turned those sharp eyes on me. "And this is Maya." "You told her about me?" "I tell Nonna everything." He smiled, genuine, soft. "Maya, this is my grandmother, Sofia Russo." Sofia took my hands in hers, studying my face with an intensity that reminded me of her grandson. "So you're the one who called him ordinary." Heat flooded my cheeks. "I didn't know." "Good." She laughed, pulling me toward the kitchen. "He needs someone who sees the man, not the monster. Come help me with the pasta. Dante, your sister's in the garden." The next hour was surreal. Sofia taught me to make ravioli from scratch, sharing stories of fleeing Italy, of building a life in America, of raising Dante and his sister after their parents died. She was warm, fierce, exactly the kind of grandmother I'd dreamed of as a child. Lucia appeared, Dante's younger sister, brilliant and beautiful, running 3 legitimate businesses that probably laundered money, but I didn't ask. She hugged me like we were already family. "Thank God," she whispered. "He's been impossible for months. You've made him human again." I saw it then. The other side of Dante Russo. Not the crime lord, but the grandson who kissed Sophia's cheek, the brother who teased Lucia about her terrible boyfriend, the man who belonged somewhere beyond violence and power, the man I was falling in love with. The ambush happened on the drive home. One moment we were on the highway, Marcus driving, Dante's hand warm in mine. The next, bullets shattered the rear window. "Down!" Marcus snarled, swerving hard. Dante shoved me to the floor, his body covering mine as glass rained down. More gunfire. Steady, professional, deadly. I felt the SUV lurch, heard Marcus cursing, felt Dante's heart hammering against my back. Then silence. "Stay down," Dante ordered. He was already moving, pulling a gun from somewhere, his entire demeanor transformed. Cold, lethal. Nothing human in his eyes. The SUV stopped. Doors opened. I heard shouting, more shots, sounds I'd never forget. Wet, final sounds that meant people were dying. It lasted maybe 3 minutes. It felt like hours. When Dante came back, there was blood on his hands, his shirt, his face. Not his blood. "It's over." He pulled me up gently, checking me for injuries with shaking hands. "You're safe. You're okay." I wasn't okay. I was trembling so hard my teeth chattered. Marcus appeared, a cut above his eye but otherwise fine. 3 down. No ID yet, but they knew the route. "Find out who sent them," Dante said quietly. "Then find out who told them our route. And Marcus, make it hurt." I should have been terrified. Should have demanded he take me home, let me pack, free me from this nightmare. Instead, I grabbed his bloody shirt and kissed him desperately. "I'm still nobody," I whispered against his mouth. His arms came around me, crushing me against him. "You're mine, Maya. That makes you everything." His voice dropped, dangerous and absolute. "And I kill anyone who threatens everything I have." The weeks after the ambush blurred together in a haze of fear and desire and something that felt dangerously close to happiness. I stopped fighting my feelings for Dante, stopped pretending this was temporary, that I was just passing through his world, because the truth was simpler and more terrifying. I was falling in love with a man who killed people to protect me. We fell into a rhythm, mornings together, him making espresso while I burned toast, both of us stealing kisses between sips of coffee. Afternoons apart, me at the hospital, surrounded by Marcus and 2 other guards who pretended to be invisible. Evenings when he'd come home smelling like danger and expensive cologne, and I'd help him shed the monster, find the man underneath. Nights were ours. He'd worship me like I was sacred, whispering Italian endearments I didn't understand but felt in my bones. Afterward, we'd lie tangled together, and he'd read to me, Dante reading Dante, his voice turning poetry into seduction. "You're different," I told him one night, tracing the tattoos on his chest. Italian phrases and symbols I was learning meant family, loyalty, protection. "How?" "Lighter. Like you're not carrying the weight of the world alone anymore." His hand found mine, pressing it over his heart. "Because I'm not. You share it now. Whether you meant to or not." He gave me everything without me asking. Noah's tuition, paid in full, plus a stipend for living expenses. My hospital had received an anonymous donation large enough to renovate the entire cafeteria. Sophia called weekly to share recipes and gossip. Lucia dragged me shopping, teaching me how to navigate Dante's world with grace. But it was the small things that destroyed my defenses. The way he remembered I hated thunderstorms and would hold me through them, steady and warm, until the sky quieted. How he'd leave notes on my pillow when he had to leave before dawn. Ti penso sempre. I think of you always. The afternoon he surprised me at work with lunch from my favorite Thai place. sitting with me in the cafeteria like he belonged there, ignoring the stares. "Why do you do this?" I asked him once. "Do what?" "Make it so easy to love you." His eyes darkened with something fierce and tender. "Is that what you're doing, Kara? Loving me?" I should have denied it, protected myself, but I was tired of lying. "Yes." He kissed me breathless right there in the hospital cafeteria, in front of coworkers and patients and security guards, claiming me publicly without shame. "Finally," he murmured against my lips. "Finally, you're mine completely." But danger never slept in Dante's world. Marcus pulled me aside one morning, his expression grave. "The Morellis are moving on our territory. Dante's handling it, but you need to be extra careful." "Who are the Morellis?" "Rival family. Old blood, old grudges." He checked his phone. "They're ruthless, Miss Chen, and they've been asking questions about you." A chill ran down my spine. What kind of questions? The kind that means they're looking for leverage against Dante. "Stay close to security. Don't deviate from your routine." No, I tried not to worry. Tried to trust that Dante's empire could protect me from threats I didn't understand. My coworkers noticed the change. I was glowing, they said, smiling more. Seemed lighter despite the armed guards who shadowed my every move. "You're in love," Sarah from radiology teased during our lunch break. "Whoever he is, he's good for you." If she only knew. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I opened it without thinking. The photo made my blood run cold. Me and Noah at a cafe near campus. Yesterday's visit I'd convinced Marcus to allow. We were laughing, completely unaware of the camera capturing us from across the street. The message below was simple, direct, terrifying. "Pretty things break so easily." My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Marcus was beside me instantly, taking the device, his face going stone cold as he read the message. "We're leaving. Now." He had me in the SUV within seconds, speaking rapidly into his phone. "Sir, we have a problem. The Morellis just made contact with Maya directly." Through the phone's speaker, I heard Dante's voice. Low, deadly, absolutely calm. "Get her home. Lock down the penthouse. I'm on my way." Then, to someone else. "Find out who took that photo. I want names, locations, and family trees within the hour." I'd never heard him sound like that before. Empty of emotion. Completely lethal. And I realized the man I loved was about to go to war. Dante arrived at the penthouse like a storm, controlled on the surface, violence churning underneath. He pulled me into his arms the moment he saw me, checking for injuries even though I'd told him a dozen times I was fine. "They threatened you." His voice was empty, cold. "They put their hands on what's mine." "Dante." Noah's being moved to a secure apartment as we speak. 4 guards, rotating shifts, panic room. He was already on his phone, issuing orders in rapid Italian. "Your hospital gets additional security. You don't go anywhere without Marcus and a full team." This is insane. This is necessary. He gripped my shoulders, his dark eyes blazing. "Do you understand what that photo means? They've been watching you, following you. Close enough to hurt you, Maya. Close enough to..." His voice cracked. I'd never seen him like this. Dante was always controlled, always 3 steps ahead. But now he looked almost desperate. "I'll leave." The words tumbled out. "I'll go away. Somewhere they can't find me. Remove myself as a target." His hands tightened on my shoulders, almost painful. "No. Dante, if my being here puts you at risk, you think I'd let you go?" Something savage crossed his face. "You think anything matters more than keeping you safe? Your family, your business, your life. means nothing without you in it. He pulled me closer, his forehead pressing against mine. Don't you understand yet? You're not a weakness, Maya. You're the only thing that makes me want to be more than what I am. He took my hand, pulling me through the penthouse to a door I'd never seen opened. His private office, all dark wood and leather, but it was the wall of monitors that stole my breath. Dozens of screens showing different angles of the city, streets, buildings, businesses, his empire laid out in real-time surveillance. This is what I control, Dante said, his arm sweeping across the screens. Every corner, every operation, every person who owes me loyalty or fear. He turned to me, his eyes intense. But none of it matters. Not the power, not the money, not the empire. You're the only thing in this entire city that I can't lose. Dante, he kissed me, fierce and claiming and desperate. His hands framed my face like I was precious, breakable his. I kissed him back with equal hunger, pouring everything I felt into it, the fear, the love, the complete insanity of choosing him. He lifted me onto his desk, scattering papers, his mouth never leaving mine. His hands roamed my body with possessive certainty, and I felt it. The shift from protection to claiming, from keeping me safe to making me his in every way that mattered. Say you're mine, he commanded against my throat. Say it, Maya. I'm yours. The words came out breathless. Again. I'm yours, Dante. Completely. I stopped. The words caught in my throat. He pulled back, his dark eyes searching mine. Say it, Kara. Please. I love you. Finally, the truth. I love you, Dante Russo. His control shattered. He claimed my mouth again, his hands everywhere. And what happened next was a blur of sensation. His desk, his desperate touches, the way he worshipped me like I was his salvation. Afterward, we lay tangled together on the leather couch in his office, my head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on my bare shoulder. Say it again, he murmured. I love you. His arms tightened around me. Then marry me. I lifted my head, meeting his eyes. What? Marry me, Maya. He sat up, pulling me with him, his hands framing my face with devastating gentleness. Let me make you everything officially. My wife, my partner, my queen. His thumb brushed across my lips. Let me spend the rest of my life protecting you, loving you, proving your worth to you every single day. Dante, this is insane? Probably. Too fast? Definitely. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. But I've learned not to waste time. And I want you, Maya. Not just for 6 months. Forever. Say yes. My heart hammered against my ribs. Marriage meant fully entering his world, accepting everything that came with his name. Danger, violence, a life I'd never imagined. But it also meant him. Every morning, every night, every terrifying, beautiful moment. Yes. Dante didn't believe in waiting. The next evening, he had Marcus drive us out of the city, into neighborhoods that grew progressively worse until I recognized the cracked asphalt, the flickering streetlights, the exact spot where my car had died months ago. It was raining again. Of course it was. Why are we here? I asked as he helped me out of the SUV. Because this is where it started. He took my hand, leading me to the center of the street where I'd pushed my broken car in the rain. Where you told me you were nobody. The rain came down harder, soaking through my coat, plastering my hair to my face. Dante stood there in an expensive suit getting ruined by the downpour, and he didn't seem to care. I remember everything about that night, he said, his voice cutting through the rain. How angry you were, how exhausted, the way you looked at me like I was just an inconvenience, not someone to fear. His hands found mine. I went home that night and couldn't stop thinking about the girl who'd yelled at me about a parking space. Dante, let me finish. He squeezed my hands. I've spent my entire life being what people expected. The heir, the boss, the monster. But you saw past all of it without even trying. You made me want to be better, to build something beyond fear and violence. Then he knelt. Right there in the rain, in the middle of the street where we'd met, Dante Russo got down on one knee in a suit that cost more than most people's cars. My breath stopped. He pulled out a ring, a stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds that caught the streetlight even through the rain. You told me you were nobody, he said, his voice rough with emotion. But you became my everything, Maya. My reason, my weakness, my strength. The only person who makes me want to be human instead of the monster this world created. He held up the ring. Marry me. Let me spend the rest of my life proving your worth to you. Let me make you mine in every way that matters. Tears mixed with rain on my face. You're getting soaked. I don't care. He smiled. That devastating, genuine smile I'd fallen in love with. Say yes, Maya. Be my wife, my queen, my everything. Yes. The word came out broken, beautiful. Yes, Dante, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring on my finger. Perfect fit, because of course he'd already known my size. And stood, pulling me into his arms. We kissed in the rain, exactly where we'd started. And it felt like fate, like inevitability, like coming home. Marcus cleared his throat from the SUV. Sir, we should go. Dante pulled back reluctantly, his thumb brushing away my tears. Let's go home, futura signora Russo. And we were halfway back to the penthouse when Marcus's phone exploded with calls. Sir, his voice went tight. Intelligence just came in. The Morellis are planning something. Multiple sources confirm coordinated movement. Tonight. Dante's entire demeanor changed. The man who'd just proposed in the rain vanished, replaced by the cold strategist who ran an empire. How coordinated? At least 20 men. They're targeting multiple locations simultaneously. The restaurant, the warehouse, your sister. Marcus's jaw tightened. And the penthouse. My blood ran cold. They're coming for us. They're coming for me. Dante's hand found mine, gripping tight. But they'll have to go through an army to get there. He pulled out both phones, making rapid calls in Italian. Lock down all locations. Move Lucia to the safe house. Double the guard on Nonna. He turned to me, his dark eyes fierce. Maya, whatever happens tonight, remember, you're mine, and I protect what's mine with everything I have. Do you trust me? Yes. Good. He kissed me hard, claiming, stay close to Marcus. If I tell you to run, you run. Understood? Before I could answer, the lights in the SUV flickered, then died. The streetlights around us went dark. Buildings lost power in a cascading wave. The entire block plunged into darkness. They cut the power grid, Marcus said grimly. Dante's phone lit up his face in the darkness. Message after message flooding in. His expression went deadly calm. They're here. That's when we heard it. Gunfire in the distance, getting closer. Marcus floored the accelerator, swerving through dark streets. Hold on! The penthouse loomed ahead, but even from blocks away, I could see it was dark. No lights. No power. We screeched into the underground garage. Marcus was already moving, gun drawn, 2 other guards materializing from the shadows. More gunfire, much closer now. The stairwell door burst open. Dante grabbed my arm, his voice deadly calm in the chaos. Get her to the safe room. Now. Marcus dragged me toward the elevator as gunfire erupted in the garage. Concrete exploded where bullets struck. I screamed, but he didn't stop, his body shielding mine as we ran. Stairs are compromised, he barked into his calm, taking her up the emergency route. Behind us, I heard Dante shouting orders in Italian, heard the controlled burst of return fire, heard men screaming. The elevator shaft. Marcus pried open a maintenance door I'd never noticed, revealing a ladder leading up into darkness. Climb. Now. My hands shook on the metal rungs. Below, the sounds of war echoed through the building. Marcus climbed behind me, gun in one hand, somehow still protecting me even while scaling a ladder in complete darkness. We emerged on the penthouse level through a hidden panel in Dante's office. The safe room was behind a bookshelf. Solid steel, reinforced, stocked with supplies for days. Marcus shoved me inside. Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone except me or Mr. Russo. The code to unlock from inside is 0714, your birthday. If we don't come back... Marcus, if we don't come back, there's an exit tunnel that leads to the street. Cash, passports, everything you need. He gripped my shoulder. He loves you, Miss Chen. Whatever happens, remember that. Then he was gone. The steel door sealing shut with a pneumatic hiss. I was alone in the darkness, with only emergency lights casting everything in red. The safe room had monitors, grainy feeds from security cameras throughout the building, and I watched hell unfold. The Morellis had come prepared. At least 15 men that I could count, moving with military precision through the building. But they'd underestimated Dante. His men were everywhere, appearing from hidden positions, flanking, overwhelming. I watched Marcus move like a ghost, taking down 2 attackers before they knew he was there. Watched other guards I'd come to know fighting with brutal efficiency. And Dante. God, Dante was terrifying. He moved through the chaos like death itself, calculated, precise, lethal. Every shot he took found its mark. Every movement was controlled violence. He wasn't the man who made me coffee or read poetry in bed. He was the monster his world had created, and he was magnificent and horrible all at once. I lost track of time. Minutes felt like hours. The gunfire became sporadic, then stopped altogether. The monitors showed bodies, so many bodies, and Dante's men securing the building floor by floor. Then silence. Terrible, complete silence. I sat in the red darkness, waiting. My hand kept going to the ring on my finger, twisting it, using the weight of it to anchor myself. The intercom crackled. Maya, Dante's voice, exhausted, alive. I nearly sobbed with relief. I'm here. It's over. I'm coming for you. The locks disengaged. The door opened. He stood there, and my heart broke. Blood covered him, splattered across his face, soaking his shirt, staining his hands. Not all his own, I realized, seeing the gash on his arm, another on his forehead. But mostly other people's blood. So much blood. Dante. He pulled me into his arms, crushing me against him, and I felt him shaking. You're safe, he whispered into my hair, over and over like a prayer. You're safe. You're safe. I held him while he trembled. This powerful man who'd just killed to protect me, who'd turned himself into a monster so I could survive. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Building secure. We lost Thompson and Caruso. The Morellis. His jaw tightened. All dead, sir. Every single one who came here tonight. Dante nodded without looking away from me. And their leadership? Being handled as we speak. By dawn, the Morelli family won't exist. I pulled back to look at Dante's face. His dark eyes were empty, haunted. Some of my men died tonight, he said quietly. Good men with families, with lives. They died protecting you, Maya, protecting what's mine. Dante, I'll walk away. His voice cracked. From all of it. The family, the business, the empire. If that's what keeps you safe, I'll leave everything behind. We can go anywhere. Be anyone. Just... He gripped my face with blood-stained hands. Just don't leave me. Please, I looked at the man I loved, covered in blood, offering to give up everything, broken and desperate and mine. And I realized I had a choice. The same choice I'd had that rainy night in the parking garage when he'd first offered me his card. I could have safety, anonymity, return to being nobody, invisible, half alive but unthreatened. Let Dante sacrifice his empire, his family, his identity, everything he'd built and bled for. Or I could choose him, fully, completely, dangers and all. I thought about the woman I'd been 6 months ago, exhausted, drowning, working myself to death in a life that barely qualified as living, so invisible that I'd convinced myself being nobody was safety instead of slow suffocation, and the woman I'd become, fierce, loved, protected, seen in a way that made me finally see myself. I was nobody before you, I said, taking his blood-stained hands in mine. And maybe that was safer. Maybe nobody can't get hurt, but nobody also can't feel anything. Can't love or be loved. Can't matter to anyone. Maya, you made me feel everything, Dante. Tears streamed down my face. Fear and passion and purpose and love so intense it terrifies me. You made me matter. Made me see my own worth reflected in your eyes every single day. I pressed his hands over my heart. I don't want to go back to being nobody. I want to be yours, your wife, your partner, your everything. Whatever that costs. His control shattered. He pulled me against him, holding me so tight I could barely breathe, and I felt wetness on my neck. Dante Russo crying. I don't deserve you, he whispered. Probably not. I pulled back, managing a shaky smile. But you're stuck with me anyway. He kissed me like I was air, and he'd been drowning. We married 2 weeks later in Sophia's garden, just family. Dante wore a dark suit without blood for once, looking almost peaceful. I wore a simple white dress that Lucia had helped me choose, and the emerald ring that caught the sunlight like a promise. Sophia cried. Noah stood as my family, accepting Dante with cautious gratitude. His tuition paid, his sister safe, his future secured. Lucia beamed. Marcus stood guard even at the wedding, but I saw him smile when Dante kissed me. Father Romano performed the ceremony. An old priest who'd known Dante since childhood, who understood what he was, but blessed us anyway. Do you, Maya Chen, take this man? I do. I didn't wait for the full question. I absolutely do. Dante's smile could have lit the city. I do too. Whatever she's agreeing to, I do. Father Romano sighed but smiled. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. Dante whispered his vows against my lips. Ti amo, mia regina. You'll never be nobody again. You're my wife, my queen, my entire world. I love you too, I whispered back. My beautiful monster. 6 months later, I walked through the city that once ignored me. People noticed now. Not just because Marcus followed 3 steps behind, or because I wore clothes that whispered money, or because everyone knew I was Dante Russo's wife. They noticed because I'd finally learned to take up space, to be seen, to matter. I'd kept my job at the hospital. Part-time now. My choice. Dante had renovated the entire cafeteria, created scholarships for workers like I'd been, changed lives without taking credit. Noah was thriving in medical school. Sophia called daily with recipes and gossip. Lucia and I were planning legitimate businesses that might actually stay legitimate. And Dante came home every night to me, still dangerous, still powerful, still the monster when he needed to be. But also mine. How was your day, Signora Russo? He asked that evening, pulling me into his arms. Perfect, I kissed him. Ordinary and extraordinary all at once. Like you. I'm not ordinary. You've made sure of that. He smiled, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. No. You were never ordinary, Kara. You just couldn't see it. I simply made you look. I was nobody once. Invisible. Drowning. Surviving instead of living. Now I was everything. His everything. And finally, blessedly, my own everything too.